welcome to another episode of Comic Fridays. This week we're going to dispense with our usual format of tips, news and reviews, and we're going to go straight in on a special on copyright theft. Recently, artist Emily Brady had discovered that some of her artwork had been used on the posters of a roller derby league. Emily's asked me not to name the roller derby in question because they have since removed the artwork and apologised, and I have to respect that. If it were me, I would have named them because they have done this and they've been quite aggressive in the way that they spoke to her in response to her asking them to remove the artwork. So I would have named them, but she doesn't want me to, so I'm going to respect that and we're just going to get on with what's actually happened. When Emily found out that her artwork was being used, she contacted the league that had used it and identified herself as the creator of the piece that they were using and asked them to stop. And she also asked them to apologise on the website for having used her artwork without permission. The roller derby didn't immediately go, "Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't realise." They instead sent her this email. "Dear Emily, we truly apologise for the inconvenience. No legal document was found on your website in regards to the copyright of this artwork itself, so legally talking, no one can guarantee the artwork is really yours, plus it is available for everyone to download. The flyer is not trying to take authentication of the artwork, it's just to promote a non-profit event for pets through the roller derby sport. Have you take a look to the description of the event? Not quite sure if the roller derby community was used properly in this topic, since the roller derby community world is made use to helps each other and makes this sport the best out it. If this artwork was really yours, we're really sorry that you couldn't feel proud of your art, since it seems to bother you with someone else using your idea because it is really cool. For your information, we did not took the idea from your flyer, it was from somebody else. We will take down all the flyers as per your request, even if we don't have legal proof that it was made by you, and we're really sorry we caused you any concerns." Let's put aside the condescension, since most ignorant copyright users will attempt to talk down to the person that is telling them that they've stolen their work, because it seems to be the default setting. If you are found out from doing something that is actually not allowed, then you will take offence, because for some reason you think you're entitled to disobey the law. Well, you're not. But everyone that's out there who steals artwork has this weird I'm owed everything attitude, so we're just going to put that aside because it's basically the default setting for anyone who's infringing copyright. Let's look at the rest. The first point I should make is that copyright infringement is a civil rather than a criminal case, which means that you can't go to the police if someone is swiping your artwork, but you can if they've swiped your artwork and they're now printing it out and distributing it as if it's their own, because then it goes away from copyright infringement to counterfeiting and potentially fraud. Copyright theft is something that a lot of large companies such as the Motion Picture Association of America, the Recording Industry Association of America, and in the UK FACT, the Federation Against Copyright Theft, tend to push around. It's not an actual term. No one steals copyright unless by some weird system they've managed to grab hold of documents that provide them actual copyright ownership. So what this is copyright infringement, which is a civil case. You've got to be able to show damages, which is basically damage to you or your property or loss of earnings as a result of copyright infringement. You can't go to the police, you can go to a lawyer. The other thing that you can do with a copyright infringement case is, of course, to request an injunction, which is basically the court saying you can't do that anymore. Or if they haven't started infringing our copyright but you know they're going to, you could have the court say you can't do that and prevent them from doing it. And that way, if they actually continue or they do what they've been told they can't, then that's contempt of court. You can take them back to the court and then it becomes a criminal act. They can go to jail for that one. But that's the only way you can turn copyright infringement into a criminal action. Now, the Derby League is claiming that there's no evidence that the artwork belongs to Emily. This doesn't matter. For a start, they're claiming that they can't identify the original person who created the artwork, which means that they have not contacted the original artwork creator or the copyright holder in order to get permission to use the artwork. That is basically outright an admission of liability. They know that they can't identify the original person because they don't have the rights to produce the artwork. So, obviously, they have infringed copyright. Emily can demonstrate that she owns the copyright. We've got a demonstration of infringement. Again, she will need actual damages if she wants anything more than an injunction, but she's got the proof and evidence there in that opening statement. Moreover, you don't have to state that something is your copyright in order for it to be protected by copyright law. If you create a work, it is yours. The copyright law is incredibly simple. It goes like this. If you create a work, it is yours. You can then sell, lease, or give away the copyright. If you lease the copyright, someone gets the rights to use your copyright under certain circumstances for a certain length of time. If you sell it, they then own it outright, so you can't then go, oh, I'd like to draw that again and use that again, without going to them and saying, can I have a rental of the copyright or buy it back, or can you give me the permission to do this? Because they own it. It's as if they created it. If you don't have permission to use a copyrighted work, you can't use it. It doesn't matter whether you had ownership at one point, whether you rented ownership at one point, whether someone said, yeah, you can do it for that time. After that, you can't use it. If you don't have the copyright for something, you can't use it. If you don't know who made it, you can't use it, because you can't get permission for the copyright holder. You have to go by the default setting of you can't use it. You don't have to put a symbol on any work for it to be protected by copyright. The moment that it's created, it is protected by copyright. Some countries require a copyright symbol, but not all. So what I'd suggest is, if you can, put a little copyright notice on so that you're protected with those countries, because, of course, on the internet, everyone can see everything. It just gives you that little extra level of protection, but as a general rule, you do not need a copyright statement in order to be protected by copyright, especially not in the UK and Europe. Now, the offending Derby League has also claimed that the artwork was available for anyone to download. This may well be true, but it doesn't mean that you're automatically given the right to reuse it, unless there's a statement saying this is free for public use, which a lot of artwork isn't, and you should always ask the copyright holder if you can have permission regardless, because you don't know whether it's actually the person who put it up who did it. This is very true with fonts, by the way. If you go to a lot of font websites, some of those fonts that are on there are actually copyrighted and aren't free for use, but someone's uploaded them anyway. So always be careful. But just because something is available for download doesn't mean that you can freely use it. I could go to a website now for Star Trek, and they've got some episodes on there that you can watch. I'm free to watch them. I'm not free to download them, burn them to a DVD and go and sell them. Because just because something's available doesn't mean that it's free for everyone to use in any way they want. A copyright holder can make something available for public consumption. That is not the same as making it available for people to reuse. And that's where the distinction lies. Otherwise, I could just go out now and organise a fundraiser with a poster that had Mickey Mouse fighting Darth Vader with lightsabers on top of the Starship Enterprise, because I can download images of all of those things. So obviously, under the logic of this roller derby, I can go and use all of those things. Of course you can't. It might be available for my enjoyment, it's not available for my commercial gain. Okay, finally, the derby also claimed that it was a charitable thing. Well, that's very nice, but being a not-for-profit or a charity doesn't exempt you from copyright law. The same rules apply whether you're using it for personal use, for charity use, for not-for-profit use, or for commercial use. If you are not the copyright holder, you don't have a contract saying you can use it, and you've not been given permission, you have to say, I can't use this because I don't have the copyright. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter whether you're a charity, and that excuse will fall on deaf ears when you are inevitably pulled up for infringing copyright. Okay, as a final word on this, as we saw early on with the letter, the offending people are often quite aggressive, quite passive-aggressive sometimes, and they will be condescending. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm really offended by what you just said, I want an apology before I do anything. Never apologise for defending your rights. Okay, that's all I really want to say on this subject, so we're going to move straight over to our quick review of 2000 AD issue 1838. You can find a more complete review on webcomics.co tomorrow, but we're going to do a quick review with a few pictures so you know what's coming up. Okay, let's start with the cover. It's a slightly cartoony but quite interesting cover by John Charles of Finnegan Sinister from Sinister Dexter, and he's holding a gun. He looks an awful lot like the Joker. I was actually surprised by this. It seems that Sinister is turning more and more into the Joker as time goes by. He used to have this wild red hair all over and really loud shirts, but now he's very short back and sides kind of guy, but his face is getting paler and paler. It's really weird to watch, but it's still a very good comic when you see it, and Charles has put out a very decent depiction of him. It's not the most hard-hitting of covers, and it does kind of belie the fact that inside is quite a violent comic. It looks a little bit cartoony, but never mind. We're going to go straight in with, and just to emphasise the fact that this is quite a violent, action-packed comic, we have an episode of Judge Dredd by John Wagner, and my goodness, this is very good. John Wagner, of course, last wrote Judge Dredd when it was the Day of Chaos last year, and he's been away letting other people play in his sandbox until he's come back with this follow-up story. It's fast-paced, it's action-packed, and unfortunately the good writing is let down by passable art. Now, the artist here, Dave Taylor, is clearly talented. He's been around for a long time and he knows his way around a pen. His figures are very realistic. They look good. His backgrounds are amazing. He's got a lot of talent. Unfortunately, the way he's posing all of his characters is quite rigid, and he doesn't have the characters talking properly. When you have a character with a speech bubble going to them and their mouth is shut, it just looks weird. It'd be like if I sat here and just talked to you now but didn't move my lips. It doesn't look real. And that's the thing, it jars very quickly. Also, a lot of his characters aren't doing eye contact. They're not looking at each other when they're talking. There's one frame where Dredd is speaking to a guy, but he's got his back to the guy he's speaking to. I realised that a lot of this is due to the fact that Dredd is aggressive. He's quite intimidating a person, and his body language often suggests that, so he may just be attempting to talk down and demean the guy that he's speaking to for doing something wrong by not even bothering to look at him, but it looks wrong on the page. So there are a lot of issues with that, and the fact is that the first time I looked at this artwork I thought, is this a guy from a webcomic? And I really shouldn't be putting down webcomics here. I'm not putting down webcomics, but that was the kind of impression I got because the artwork wasn't quite at the professional level that we expect from 2000 AD with regard to the static poses of the characters, and it really does great, which lets down a very, very good story, which is unfortunate. Moving over, we then have a turret tale. It's a weird one. It jumps a lot. The writer is also the artist, and the artwork is good. The artwork reminds me of early 2000 AD and issues of Misty, which is the sister comic of 2000 AD to a certain extent, and I really, really missed that comic. It was really good. But this reminds me of it. The artwork is impressive. It's got a lot of action to what's going on. It's just unfortunate that the storyline feels like it's had to be cut down massively to fit into 5 pages. It jumps a lot. There are lots and lots of time skips, some on the same pages, and it made it hard to work out what was going on. Also, the ending just appears to turn up out of nowhere. It doesn't really fit. It could have done with more space. If it had had more space, this is clearly going to be a story that would have been worthwhile reading. But it doesn't, so unfortunately it's let down by the writing. So good art, not so good writing. Sinister Dexter is very good. I never fail to be impressed by Dan Abnett's writing, and this is really, really good work. I'm impressed by the style of the artwork as well. John Byrne is looking fantastic on this. It's an impressive mix of watercolours and inking with cross-hatching in there for emphasis. It's just amazing. It looks great, it reads well, it's got a lot of fast pace and clever dialogue. I love the puns that are always in Sinister Dexter, especially in the names. It's really good, it's worth having a look at just for the cover price alone. Now, if we move over to the next comic that we've got, it's Alan Grant and Carl Siscara on Cadet Anderson. It's good to see Anderson working in a team rather than on her own, because as a cadet she really should be out on her own. But in a team it works really well. We've got a group of side judges, so they've got their powers there, and it's really good to see that it's not just telepathy for a change. So I'm impressed. This is a fantastic story. It's running along at a brisk pace, and it's good fun. I especially like the reveal about the nature of all of the foods that the people in the restaurant are eating. And if you don't know what that's about, go and have a look at the comic, it's well worth it. My only problem is Carl Siscara has managed to make a comedy-looking villain, when I don't think it should be a comedy villain. It really doesn't seem to work with the rest of the story, but I'm going to wait to see what goes on there, because Siscara is always good, so I'm going to assume that this has a point to it. Finally, we come to Defoe by Pat Mills and Lee Gallagher. Pat Mills has a fantastic storyline here. He's mixing in a lot of really, really good, powerful, magical type of events with historical characters and settings, and it's really impressive. Mills is an incredibly strong writer, and it's really showing here. This is great work, and he's supported all the way by Lee Gallagher, who's producing some excellent artwork. This stuff looks really good. It might be black and white, but he's got depth to it, and it's fantastic. So I say, if you have a quick flick through the comic for any particular storyline, then I would have gone for Judge Dredd until I saw this. This is good stuff. So I'm impressed. It's excellent artwork and excellent writing, and they combine together to make something that is unmissable. Okay, that's 2000 AD, issue 1838, and it's available on Wednesday the 26th of June in print and also online. So if you can't get to a UK newsagent, then you can always go to the 2000 AD website, which is 2000adonline.com, or use their newsstand app on iOS. Okay, thank you very much for watching. That's all we've got time for this week. So, if you did like this, remember to click the like button, share it with your friends so that they can see what's been going on in copyright infringement and comics this week. And do subscribe for future videos because we'll be back later on. But until next time, I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching Comic Fridays, and I'll see you next time.